clay bar, the biggest lie of the industry. Well, that's hyperbolic. I don't know if it's the biggest lie, but it's certainly a subject that doesn't seem to be addressed by either what I call YouTube detailers or people in the professional world that make this stuff. And that is, does the clay bar scratch your paint? The simple answer is yes. It will scratch your paint. Regardless of what the manufacturer's container says, it will scratch your paint. That's a simple answer. The more complex answer is this: not all scratches are created equal. I could actually even go further and say that some scratches are actually wanted in the form of car polish, right? Because if you know how the polishing process works, you know that you're literally scratching your way to success as you polish your car paint, whether it's by hand or machine. So that's where I say is not all scratches are created equal, and in some cases scratches are actually wanted. But we're not talking about polishing your paint. We're talking about using a clay bar. Something, like I said, that does not seem to be addressed in any of the videos. And if you read the manufacturer's labeling, they will have these, like, what I call weasel clauses. Like in the world of attorneys, they call these legal documents, there'll always be some weasel clause. It's kind of a cover your ass moment. So they'll talk about, like, oh, if you don't use enough clay lube, it will cause damage to your paint. Or if you don't replace your bar often enough, it will cause damage to your paint. Well, I can shoot holes in that argument all day long. For example, I have tested so many clay lubes, and I've used a clay bar with nothing but tap water. I can abrade the paint with tap water just as I can abrade the paint using the most hyped up clay lube. I've yet to find a clay lube that will prevent abrading or scratching. So it still happens regardless of how much clay lube you use or how much you spend on that clay lube. Really, the clay lube is just intended, in my opinion and in my experience, to allow the clay bar to be moved back and forth across your paint in order to shear off those paint contaminants. But by all means, leave me a comment, which I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of comments of like, oh no, Darren, you're wrong. It's like, well, I just know I've tested it so many times, and I can introduce marring to my paint whether I use water or the most hyped up clay lube that I've found so far, but maybe there's some new technology out there that I'm not aware of. So let me circle back around to not all scratches are created equal. And I introduced the word abrading. So if you're a beginner and you own a dark colored car, because my car is white. White is one of the easiest colors to take care of because it just doesn't show the imperfections and flaws of your car paint. So if this bar, if it really is one of the big lies of the industry, if it really will scratch your paint or it will abrade your car paint, I'm not going to be able to see it on a white car like I can on a black car. Black cars reveal all the imperfections of your paint, unlike a white car. So if you're a beginner and you've got a black or a dark colored car and you use this and there's enough paint contaminants in which you're trying to remove and you have to rub hard enough or long enough, you will, I promise you, eventually abrade your car paint and you will be disturbed. But just know that everything in life has its trade-offs. So that's what I mean about not all scratches are created equal, just like some scratches are actually wanted in the form of polishing your paint, but in this case they're unwanted because we're not trying to scratch our paint, we're just trying to decontaminate it or remove those bonded surface contaminants. We don't want to scratch our paint. We don't want to abrade it. So you could use gallons and gallons of clay lube, but if your paint has degraded or accumulated significant amounts of pollution and you have to rub hard enough or long enough, you're gonna abrade your paint. It's just going to happen. So that's where I am going to bat the beehive, and I will get endless comments about someone that has some magic secret sauce that says, oh no, Darren, there's this special clay lube that I used and it did not abrade my paint. Well, I can't verify that because I don't know how much that guy had to rub in order to decontaminate his paint. And also, once again, to overuse one of my phrases, which is nothing is created equal, the paint contaminants on your car are not all created equal, which means this. Let's say I'm removing paint overspray. Is it latex paint? Is it oil-based paint? Is it acrylic paint? Enamel paint? I mean, let's go down the list. Is it road paint? So it's not all created equal. Just like not all dirt particles are created equal. Is it metal in composition, which is generally called ferrous material? Is it from your brake? Is it from the brakes as in brake dust? Is it from your tailpipe in the form of emissions? And what I'm getting at is that since not all dirt is created equal, you don't know the type of contaminants you're removing. I know that not all dirt has the ability to scratch or abrade your paint equally. So to do a direct comparison would be very difficult at best, basically impossible at worst. I'm just going to go with impossible because on any given car, there's going to be endless types of dirt or paint pollutants, contaminants on your paint. You just don't know because it will be a case by case, literally down to a particulate size and shape and composition as to what it's going to do to your car paint in the process of removing it. So that's where, once again, this industry spins my head out of control. And I could deliberate on that endlessly and, make a compelling argument as to, will it really scratch your paint? Will it mar your paint? The simple answer is yes. But in conclusion, let me just add this. If you're a beginner, just accept that it will be a fearful proposition for you. Because as you begin to rub this on your paint, for example, and I'm just going to bust out the distilled water versus the Mother's Instant Detailer, and I'm going to spray some detailer here, and I'm going to spray some water here, and I'm going to bend over so you can hear it. Hear that? Hear that? Actually, what you're hearing also is my man jewelry slapping against the car. Point is it will be disturbing for a beginner. But as you rub it, that noise will go away. So it will be disturbing. If you have a dark colored car, you're going to look at your car. You might be disturbed because you might see some type of scratching or marring to your paint. Just know after you're done, you need to follow up with some kind of wax. So if you see something that you don't like, simply heavy-handedly apply your wax. In most cases, the simple process of waxing your car when you're done will remove or diminish those abrasions to the point that you find acceptable. Once again, we're talking about probably your daily driver versus a showpiece or a museum piece car. If it's a museum piece car, antique or whatever, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be watching this video anyways. So in conclusion, guys, that's Darren's take on one of the biggest lies of the industry. I don't know if it's the biggest lie. You can tell me. Perhaps you can use the comment section below this video to let me know your thoughts as to A, why is this industry not addressing that more? B, what is your take on it? Do you accept that, yes, I accept that everything has trade-offs. I'm going to introduce some marring to my paint. As a professional detailer, to me, it's a non-issue because A, most people cannot tell the difference in the way they look at their car. What they do as customers, they're going to come out and feel their car, and I know there's going to be guys that say, "Well, that's not very integrous of you, Darren. You're going to scratch your car by decontaminating it. I mean, you need to polish it afterwards." It's like, well, that's where the conversation with my customer comes in, and I actually educate them and let them know, like, "Hey, by the way, this is how this works. Here's the trade-offs." So in my professional world, I always like informed customers, and I'm going to take the time to inform them so that they can make an educated guess. And I'm going to inform them in a way that they know what the trade-offs are, but they also know what the benefits are, and they can decide for them what that winning balance is. And as a professional detailer, I know that I can polish the paint and fix it. And I also know that as a professional detailer that this is kind of a requirement, that is better to do this than to think I'm going to try to polish that away rather than using a clay bar to decontaminate the paint. Okay, I think I've spoken enough. I'm gonna hear the feedback from you guys. I know with this video, I'm probably gonna bat the beehive and get all kinds of backlash, but please leave me your thoughts. But hopefully you're gonna be speaking from firsthand experience, whether it's your own car or the world of professional detailing.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn,